Hey up and welcome back to the channel. Now a couple of weeks ago of course I did a video about my favourite of the entire Royal Enfield range for 2023. So what I thought I'd do today is give you the benefit of my received wisdom on the Suzuki range of motorcycles for 2023, all of which I recently tested out of Apple Yards. Now the reason there wasn't a video at the weekend was because I was out with my good pal VFR Mitch. We had an overnight stop just sort of south of Middlesbrough while we did a tour right up through the Yorkshire Dales, up to Tan Hill, and then across and back down the northeast coast. So that will be coming to the channel shortly, but in the meantime here's a little teaser. The background video while I go through this will be from Gaz's rear facing camera, so you just have to put up with pictures of me riding through that landscape. So just a little taster of what's to come for you here. So without further ado, let's get started. Now the first thing I should say is of these 7 Suzukis that I've test ridden, obviously I'm gonna actually scale them from 7 down to 1. Now I know in a previous video I said that sounded a little bit patronising, and I still think that if you're talking about the top 5 or top 10 features of a particular bike, to put them in a hierarchy is a little bit patronising. It's a little bit sort of schoolboyish in a sense. However, when it comes to rating motorcycles themselves, I think it's got some validity, and I can't think of another way to do it, so this is how it's gonna be. So I test rode 7 Suzuki motorcycles, and so I'll go through them. So you probably need to know that a couple of weeks ago was my 61st birthday, so that's how old I am. Just turned 61. I'm 6'1", about 85 kilos, 13 and a bit stone, something like that. So when I give you my opinions about what's a good Suzuki and what's perhaps a not good Suzuki, that means for me. It is not a generic comment about the bikes themselves, far from it. Different bikes will appeal to different people, but if you're in my sort of category of middle weight and middle age, before you start trying to suggest that 61 is old age, not middle age, you can go bollocks. So let's got that out of the way, let's crack on. So coming in at number 7 of 7 then is the Suzuki GSXS1000. Now this is Suzuki's naked muscle bike, 1000cc muscle bike, or 999cc's to be precise. It is a beast to be sure. Over 150 brake horsepower and 106 Newton meters of torque. It's not a particularly heavy bike. It comes in at 214 kilograms, but this kind of bike is really not for me, and the design aesthetics of this machine don't help in my opinion. It's not a bike that I can warm to in terms of what it is, what it represents, and indeed how it looks. Now this bike comes in at £11,500 in the United Kingdom, and if you're after a powerful, blisteringly powerful, entertaining 1000cc naked motorcycle, and you can handle the rhino-like looks of the GSX1000, then it might be the bike for you. But it comes in at number 7 for me, basically because it's not the sort of bike that I consider to be practical, useful, or fitting in with my particular lifestyle. But yeah, if big powerful nakeds are for you, take a look at the Suzuki GSXS1000S. And coming in at number 6 of 7 is the Suzuki GSX8S. Another mouthful. I think Suzuki need to work on their nomenclature. But anyway, again, another bike which, in my opinion, in terms of its looks, only a mother could love, really. But it might appeal to you. Again, that sort of rhinoceros-like front end. The reason I put this slightly ahead of its bigger brother is it's a more practical bike, and one that I certainly found easier to get on with. In terms of the numbers, it's 83 brake horsepower, 78 newton meters of torque out of its 776cc engine, and Suzuki claims 67 miles per gallon in terms of fuel economy. So certainly a more economical bike to run, to fuel, to maintain, to insure, etc. And again, if you're into the naked bike scene, then this could well be on your radar, but not for me really. But I put it slightly ahead of its bigger brother because of what I consider to be its increased practicality of ownership and riding for somebody in my position. So there we are, the Suzuki GSX8S, coming in at just under £8,000 in the United Kingdom. So, coming in at number 5 out of 7 is the Suzuki SV650. A cracking little bike this, very practical all-rounder, great fuel economy, great as a commuter bike, great as a weekend scratcher, and I suppose you might be able to find some aftermarket luggage for it to turn it into a practical tourer. I mean, in terms of numbers, this bike's got a respectable 73 brake horsepower from its 650cc engine, and coming in at 200 kilograms, it's a manageable weight as well. Suzuki claim 68.9 miles per gallon for this bike, and in the United Kingdom it comes in at a sniff under £7,000, so in terms of capital outlay, quite an affordable proposition. I did like this bike. I think that as an all-round naked motorcycle with a little bit of retro about it, it's an attractive and desirable bike to own, and will tick a number of boxes for people that are looking for a mid-range practical bike and don't want to break the bank. Quite a good looking bike, and certainly better looking than the GSX1000 and GSX8S counterparts, if you ask me, and a bloody sight easier to pronounce as well. So there we are, the cracking Suzuki SV650. Which brings us on to the Suzuki GSXS1000 GT. Now this is my favourite of the Suzuki GSX range. I think it's by far the best looking, by far the most practical, and still packs a very powerful punch indeed. Really like this bike, enjoyed riding it, and in terms of being a sports tourer, right up there with the best. Its most obvious competition, of course, is the Kawasaki Z1000 SX, a bike I used to own. And I don't think there's an awful lot of difference between the two of them. Might well come down to things like brand loyalty. Well, the numbers on this bike: 152 brake horsepower, 106 Newton meters of torque from the 999cc inline 4-cylinder engine. And it comes in at a weight of 226 kilograms, so not the heaviest. But certainly not the lightest. So a fast, powerful and practical sports touring motorcycle, coming in complete with luggage in touring spec at £13,600 in the United Kingdom, and I think as a touring motorcycle this is a serious option. And if you want to dispense with the panniers and mix it with the boy racers on this bike, you most certainly can, and you can probably even perform respectably on a track day if you wanted to. So yeah, the Suzuki GSXS1000 GT. And coming in at number 3 out of 7, our first adventure bike, the Suzuki VStrom 1050, the standard VStrom 1050. Great bike this, definitely a rival for the Honda Africa Twin and one or two others maybe. Sits between mid-range adventure bikes and the big heavyweight behemoths like the GS's and Super Adventures and Triumph Tigers of this world. This bike's V-twin engine has 107 brake horsepower, 100 Newton meters of torque, and delivers a claimed 54.2 miles per gallon, and it's available from Suzuki in either standard or tour spec, the tour spec including the 3-box hard luggage set. Without the luggage, this bike comes in at a smidgen under £13,000 in the United Kingdom. But cracking bike this, plenty of real world power, really comfortable to ride, not quite as high and perhaps intimidating as its DE counterpart, but still in terms of value for money, if you're after a bike that will go anywhere and do anything and come in at a fairly reasonable price, then the Suzuki VStrom 1050 may be the bike for you. Okay, which takes us on to the Suzuki VStrom 1050 DE. Now this is the more off-road focused version of the VStrom 1050. Features a 21-inch front wheel and spoked rims, which give it a very purposeful look, to be sure. Again, like the standard VStrom, this is available in standard spec or tour spec. You can see here the tour spec complete with the 3-box luggage set. Again, 107 brake horsepower, 100 Newton meters of torque from the 1037cc V-twin engine, and returning 54.2 miles per gallon claimed. and I absolutely love this bike. I think it looks the dog's dangly bits, particularly in the yellow, blue and black colourway, and a serious rival for the Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sports, this bike, in my opinion. Again, a bike that sits in between mid-weight adventure bikes and heavyweight adventure bikes, that has all the real world performance that you are ever going to need. That engine really packs a punch. I can tell you it will deliver smiles by the bucketful. In fact, if you're a little bit too keen with your right hand, you might get carried away on the back wheel. Now this bike comes in at £13,699 in standard spec. You'll pay about £1,500 more for the tour version, and it represents a very practical tourer indeed. A go anywhere, all day, comfortable, cracking looking motorcycle, particularly if you're into your retro influences from the 1980s, because it has that katana-like front headlight. Great bike, loved it to bits, and definitely earns its position at number 2 out of 7. And finally, in first place out of the 7 2023 Suzuki models I have test ridden comes the Suzuki VStrom 800DE. Now, I was absolutely smitten by this bike. It fit me like a glove. And I'm a lover of mid-range adventure bikes. I think they're probably the most practical, most versatile motorcycles that money can buy. The 800DE is available in standard spec and tour spec with the luggage. The standard bikes are gonna cost you £10,500, and obviously you'll pay a fair bit more for the tour spec bike with the 3-box luggage set. But this is a really versatile bike. I mean, it's got 220mm of the travel suspension, front and rear. Again, a 21-inch front wheel, quite a tall bike, and a beautiful note from the 270-degree crank parallel twin engine, which kicks out 84 brake horsepower, 78 newton meters of torque, and returns 64.12 miles per gallon according to Suzuki. And if I could have only one bike in my garage, this would be the one. Because it would do everything for me. It's got plenty of railworld power. In fact, in the mid-range, I could tell no difference between the power delivery of this bike and its big 1050 sister or brother. The power difference was only noticeable much further up the rev range, but for railworld riding, particularly here in the United Kingdom, plenty powerful. And it also impressed me with its physical size, its road presence. It looks and feels every bit as big as the 1050, and cuts a striking image, particularly in that lovely blue and yellow colour. So a well-earned number 1 place for the Suzuki VStrom 800DE, a fantastic bike that'll do just about anything for you, in my opinion. Okay, hope that was of some interest to you. If it was, please click a like. Please consider subscribing if you've not already done so. And please feel free to share this video. The more shares, the better. The algorithms love it. So until the next time, thank you for watching. Ride safe, be kind, and I'll see you on the next one. Toodle pip.